over half of migrants set for Rwanda are missing. Let's talk to Leon Emirali, former Conservative advisor, and get his view. Leon, a very good morning to you. Welcome to day two of the Brave New World here at Talk.
Morning, Mike. I'm enjoying it. It's a great start.
Listen, I mean, this is the least surprising story, I think, that I've read about migrants going to Rwanda, because, of course, the Home Office were under the impression that, oh, we give them money every week to keep them sort of staying in the same place. We give them a free hotel room so we know where they are. But, of course, as soon as they announced earlier this week that they were going to round them up and send them to Rwanda, guess what? They all scarpered.
I know. I mean, it's a deterrent in one way or another, you could say. But isn't this just systemic, really, of how the UK government operates in recent times? That we've got this deterrent that's going to stop people coming in, but ultimately those that are already here can just go off into the system, never to be seen again. And I think this is the problem when you've got undocumented migration, where they are kept in hotels as sort of holding pens, and then they're free to do whatever they want, to go and do wherever and whenever they want. And I think it's a real problem for the government, because it looks embarrassing at a time when they're trying to be robust on migration. Rishi Sunak's trying to say it's working. Well, it isn't really, is it? Because all these people are just going to go into the system and be lost forever, practically.
Right. And once again, these are things that I've been saying here and others have been saying at Talk for years, that, you know, these people come into the country for one reason and one reason alone. They know they'll never have to leave, because if they want to stay, they can just disappear into the undergrowth and nobody will ever see them again. They can get a job in the black economy, or worse, they work in the criminal area. But basically, once you've set foot in this country, you're pretty much guaranteed that you won't have to leave. I mean, I'm still not convinced that even if they do get some of these migrants and round them up and put them into detention centres, that they will eventually be put on a plane, and which will eventually take off with them in it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you scrolled through on Twitter, you would think that the UK is some sort of hellhole for migrants when they come here. We are incredibly tolerant. We are incredibly tolerant. And I think you're right, Mike, that people come here because they know they're going to get an easy ride. Yeah. They know they're either going to be put up in a hotel, or they're going to end up being treated, you know, effectively as if they're on a holiday, rather than as if they're going to be processed to go through the system. And now they're seeing that and they're taking advantage of it, and they're going to go off into the country doing God knows what. So, you know, a real difficult issue for the government. 3,500 people is what they're saying have gone missing. Yeah. It's not a small number, that. And when you consider, you know, where they could be, what jobs are they doing, exactly as you say, black economy, probably crime, potentially something else. You know, you've got these issues where these people can't even be found if they do commit crimes, because they're not in the system, they're not logged. No. And it isn't the way government should be run.
And doesn't it beg a belief that the system that they seem to be operating is one of a kind of trust-based scenario where, you know, as long as you've got a migrant who's staying in a hotel room and you're giving him £49 a week, you know, to keep him in fags and you know, beer or whatever it is, that he's going to keep sort of turning up and saying, and ticking a box saying, yeah, I'm still here. Most of them can't be bothered, because they can probably make a lot more than that, you know, possibly driving around on a moped delivering food or doing God knows what. But, you know, the capacity of our removal centres is only 2,175 anyway.
I mean, it's just bizarre when you consider that the backlog. I think this is where it all begins. It begins from the backlog of this asylum seekers not being processed. And if we were able to do that more quickly, we can get them into the system more quickly, and we can either deport them to Rwanda if that's the plan, or we can find a way for them to be integrated into the economy and start paying into the system that they're going to be using. But now you've just got people who no doubt will be in recipient of those benefits, as you say, whether it's on, you know, for what, food, drink, whatever they want to use it for. But they're going to be in receipt of those benefits, but they're not necessarily going to be paying into the pot as taxpayers to ensure that we're getting a fair deal. So, you know, it's completely bizarre. And as you say, the trust system is not working. You can't just put these people in a hotel and say, oh, we're going to come back for you in a month's time and make sure that make sure you're still there, you're still doing what you're saying you're going to do. It doesn't work like that. They're off.
It really doesn't. I mean, all I can think of at the moment, as you saying those words, is the big Bibi Stockholm, which was everybody's kind of obsession for about 2 weeks, and now nobody knows what's going on. I don't know how many people they've got on the Bibi Stockholm. I don't know whether they're still shipping them into Weymouth every Friday night for a sort of a jolly. Whenever they want to go into town, they can hang about. They don't have to go back. You know, who knows what's going on in some of these places where they're holding them.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You don't know. The conditions that they live in, we are told, are awful. I'm pretty sure that they aren't that bad after all, because the government has to abide by certain measures, certain stringent measures that will ensure they are being looked after properly. But ultimately, if there is no lock and key on those doors, if there's no sort of one in, one out, who's here, who isn't here, then they can leave, and no one's going to know they haven't returned until they come to be rounded up to go to Rwanda or whatever else it is. So, I just think that there is a system failure, a systemic failure that we see in government all the time. It's badly managed. There needs to be more of a structure as to how these migrants are being documented, and then we can deal with Rwanda and all these policies that are meant to be a deterrent.
Exactly. Well, Richard Littlejohn in the Mail was obviously listening to my show yesterday because he's nicked my idea, which was basically to put all of the migrants that we want to send to Ireland on a ferry from Stranraer into Belfast and let them wander about and find their way into the Irish Republic. He says, why not fly boat migrants to Belfast and buy them a bus ticket to Dublin? So I'm going to send him an invoice, I think, for that particular idea.